Hi, my name is Nolan and I'm going to be talking about the editing for my favorite scene from Mark Webb's 500 Days of Summer. Before I begin, let me show you two examples of how this presentation could go.
And if a double-decker bus crashes into us, to die by your side is such a heavenly way to die. And if a 10-ton truck...
Now, it looks like one of them went better than the other, but how could we tell? Let me give you some background on this movie. Tom falls in love with his coworker Summer at a greeting card company. Despite many claims of her not wanting a relationship, they develop a casual fling that slowly becomes less casual. Unfortunately, Tom wants more than Summer does, so she ends the relationship. The scene that I'm about to play takes place a few months after the relationship ends when Summer invites Tom to a party at her apartment. In his delusion, he expects this to be a sign, the moment that they get back together. Watch as we see Tom's expectations versus the reality of what happens.
Tom walked to her apartment, intoxicated by the promise of the evening. He believed that this time his expectations would align with reality.
Hey, open wide you close, original sin. Open wide you close, original sin. Open wide you
You look nice. You're tired. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So nice. Thank you. You should have. That's so nice. Thank you so much. I'm excited for you.
So Tom, what is it that you do?
I write greeting cards.
Tom could be a really great architect if he wanted to be.
That's unusual. I mean, what made you go from one to the other?
I guess I just figured, why make something disposable like a building when you can make something that lasts forever, like a greeting card. What?
Once again, one side clearly went better than the other. Aside from the story that was told, how were you able to tell which side that was? Well, lucky for you, a large portion of my grade depends on me telling you. Let's get started with the basics. The expectation side is a lot more vibrant. It uses more cuts, more angles, and different types of shots. Similar to the disparity of my fake presentation, it feels less boring and less awkward. There is an exception, but I'll talk about that later. Another great but subtle detail is in the audio. Throughout the clip, the audio from the expectation side is closer and slightly louder. It makes us feel like the situation is more intimate compared to the further away sound from the reality side. We hear less of the little details like a mouth opening, a breath, etc. Listen to this.
Thank you. You should have.
It's subtle, but that little detail really helps to change how we feel about each side. One more piece I want to discuss before we go deep into scene by scene is the song choice, because after all, the song is added during the editing. Regina Spektor's Hero sets the tone for this scene perfectly. It manages to lure you in with what seems like an emotional beginning without giving away its tone before it crushes you to pieces. With the help from this song, you can really feel that hollowness that Tom feels when he sees the wedding ring. You can feel the blinding emotion that guides him down the stairs and freezes him in the street. It's a perfectly wrenching song to fit a perfectly wrenching moment. Alright, let's get into it. We open on the outside of the apartment with the narrator's voice. He is present throughout the film, but his effect is especially prominent here. The narrator's presence enforces the idea that Tom is imagining his life as a story. I mean, every human alive daydreams and imagines their perfect scenarios playing out, and Tom is certainly no exception. The whole point of this video is talking about one of his mental scenarios. The narrator seals the theme of delusional fantasy. The film then takes us inside the hallway. The reality version of Tom starts off much further back in the hallway. This is an obvious metaphor to how real Tom is further back than his imagined self, who I will be referring to as fake Tom from here on out. We then see Tom walk up the stairs. However, the staircase is made to seem much shorter for fake Tom. He makes it up a few seconds earlier compared to the slow climb by real Tom. This is a great example of the editing that I referred to earlier. Fake Tom's scene is edited to be far more glamorous and exciting compared to the monotonous scene of real Tom. Something that is really beautiful about these two scenes is how they manage to sync up throughout. Despite fake Tom reaching the summit of the stairs much earlier than real Tom, they both enter the apartment at the same time. This is due to fake Tom imagining a much more intimate greeting than what happens in reality. The editing is so perfectly timed to keep the story synced while telling a completely different one. They clearly put much more effort into this than I did into my fake presentation. We then see Tom greet the rest of the party. In the expectation shot, we see what looks like an intimate gathering of couples, something that Tom would clearly like to be the case. In reality, it's a normal party with people talking and meeting. The two sides then sync up almost perfectly when Summer opens up her gift. Something I didn't mention earlier is how the editing lets the two sides stray away from each other, but always manages to connect them every so often. This keeps the expectation, however delusional it might be, at least somewhat grounded in reality, and makes the later juxtaposition hurt that much more. We see a great example of how they use different shots to tell a different story. After opening the gift, we get a much closer, much more intimate shot of Summer and Tom hugging on the expectation side compared to the further away, awkward thanks from the reality side. They then step away and return to their two different stories. Remember earlier when I said there would be an exception to the editing speed and cuts? Here it is. The expectation side holds a long shot for a while as it slowly zooms in on Tom and Summer, where the reality side uses multiple cuts between a conversation. Tom is here at this party for one reason, Summer, and the slow zoom puts all the emphasis on fake Tom and Summer and gives their conversation a warm and loving feeling. It almost feels like the whole party is about them falling back in love like Tom had hoped. Compare this to the reality side, with the cuts between a group of people chatting. Suddenly, Tom and Summer aren't the subject of the scene, the party is. Tom's finally getting his conversation, but it isn't at all what he wanted. Cut to a beautifully mirrored shot of Tom standing at the ledge. Real Tom is alone and staring off at the city. We see in a second that Summer went to go to talk to somebody else. Tom doesn't care about anybody else at the party, so he stands alone. Fake Tom, on the other hand, stands with Summer, gazing lovingly into her eyes. Once again, they are the subject of the party, the subject of the scene. Now, here comes the climax of the scene, or should I say climaxes plural. The two scenes are battling for an ending. Fake Tom is kissing Summer. The ultimate goal of the party has been achieved. They are back together. They are happy. But as real Tom makes the night even more sour by adding lime to his water, we get the most dynamic shot from the reality side yet. The camera twists and zooms around Tom as the true climax of the night happens. He sees the ring. The battle is won by reality, as Tom's expectations are literally shoved to the side. The divider moving is extremely reminiscent of a door closing. Tom is finally realizing it's over. Tom runs out the party. This is where we see the most rapid pace in the editing. Reality is finally as exciting as Tom imagined it to be, but in the worst way possible. There's a perfectly mirrored shot of Tom exiting the stairs. He slams the gate open and walks down the sidewalk. The editing slows down and breathes. The fast cuts representing Tom's blinding shock have faded into long-held frames representing his emptiness. The final shot is a silhouette of Tom walking down the street until he freezes in place, powerless. The scene is replaced by a black and white drawing that maintains Tom's silhouette. The drawing is then erased of detail. There's a few ways to interpret this. Going back to what I talked about at the very start, Tom envisions his life as a story. He romanticizes everything that happens. This is Tom realizing that his story has peaked and ended. He is seeing himself in this beautiful yet fake setting. The transition to artwork also emphasizes Tom's feelings. After sprinting out of the building, he finds himself unable to walk further. He's frozen and powerless. His mind is empty and unfocused. The city turns into a black and white sketch. It's empty of the color that filled it just moments ago. The sketch is then muddled even more. It loses more detail. It becomes just like Tom. It becomes empty.